yesterday to today, to be honest. Yesterday there was a match between an Israeli group, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and some Dutch group, I'm guessing. And things were alright. Of course, when you have football people, you might get things like removing and bringing down some terrorist flags known as Palestinian flags, which amazingly is now used as a justification and equivocation by the media. The likes of BBC, the Dutch, they all are like, so after the hooligan, after, Israelis removed some flags that are terrorist flags, obviously the right thing to do is to go and commit a pogrom. That was planned before they did anything, but details. There were a lot of reports during the night. Currently, I think there are 10 people that are considered unreachable, maybe because their battery died or because they're lost somewhere, or maybe because they were kidnapped. The Israeli government is ensuring that they don't think there are any people who were kidnapped, but the Dutch government is checking that possibilities, and there were people that said that people tried to put them in cars and tried to actually abduct them as well. It's not only that they did it on the street. Some people had also reported that people were trying to shove them into cars and drive away with them. Obviously, we got those reports, so they didn't manage to do it with them. At some point, there was, I want to see if the stream is okay. I know it's going to be a bit not perfect. I apologize. You guys see me? Okay. So the reason I'm a bit late because I wanted to stabilize the internet. Streaming is hard, man. But yeah, there are a lot of technical stuff. Trying to see if you guys can hear me. Could you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know. At some point, Israel wanted to fly a rescue mission to Amsterdam to rescue Israelis. Israelis had reported that when they approached police members and security services and health services in Amsterdam, they refused to help them or protect them. One account said that there was a bleeding person with them. They tried calling the police. They tried calling somebody that would evacuate or treat a wounded, bleeding person, but they just ignored them. And that was until the morning at least. It's a bit chaotic right now. Okay, you guys saying the audio, okay. That the video is frozen. Sorry, but it's gonna be a little bit more of a podcast, I guess, until it stabilizes. So please bear with me. I apologize for those technical issues. I had a very interesting night. I had a pipe exploding in my house, so that was fun as well. Got water out of the ceiling. So yeah. All right. So you can hear me, but visuals are frozen. Great. Anyway, but is the audio all right? Because I understand the video is frozen, but you guys already know how I look like, to be honest. Sound is clear. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Yeah. So okay, so clearly the police were ignoring them and they didn't get medical treatment. So Israel wanted to fly a rescue mission, but and now they canceled it after, I guess, that the government took action. They probably started threatening the police and um, the different organizations in Amsterdam, like the Red Cross and things like that, but you are indeed supposed to protect and give Jews medical treatment. I mean, I think they okay. Should it have been taken for granted maybe, but we know it's not. So that's what it is. Um okay, I'm sorry guys, I see it's frozen, but you hear me. Okay. Sorry, I know it's frozen. I'm sorry. So now instead of having an actual rescue team with forces that are with real forces, medical forces, and uh, search and rescue forces, they had instead allowed, with the permission and the announcement of the rabbinical authorities in Israel, that they permit flying on Saturday because this is a case of saving lives, and saving lives comes before keeping the Sabbath. So Israeli companies who usually do not fly on the Sabbath on Saturday are gonna fly to Amsterdam and evacuate Israelis via civic means. So the IDF mission with the medical team and the actual, so when you fly that kind of rescue mission, the planes were not civilian planes, they were IDF planes. So that was canceled, at least for now. My guess is that during between the takeoff and the cancellation, there were a lot of talks with the authorities in Amsterdam, where the authorities, here's the thing, the government knows it's supposed to protect Jews, like they understand it. The problem is that the police people that are supposed to be doing those things, they don't always listen to authority. They don't, how do you say it? It's like negligence. It's like you just don't do your job properly. And that's it. It's like, oh, oops, it's not my fault. It's very easy. It's a lot of times this is how the police acts when things, you're supposed to do something, but it against the agenda that you have as a police person. So it's like, oh, I didn't see anything. It's very easy because go chase all the police people. Like, where were you? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? My guess is that during this between takeoff, which is humiliating for a country like the Netherlands, the fact that the government had, this could have been, I want to explain why Israel canceled it and what it would have meant if Israel had to do it. It would have meant that the government had lost control on their police forces. Basically, that this is admittance of lack of governance. And there is, according to Max Weber, there is only one requirement to have a state. That is a group of people in a given territory that had all decided to give up on the violent means and gave it to one force, that's the police. If you don't have police, you don't have a country. That is basically admitting that the Netherlands had lost its ability to, for to have a country. It's not a country anymore if you cannot protect your citizens. So this is what it would have meant if a foreign power would have had to come into Amsterdam to rescue citizens in the street without, when it's clearly not what the government wants. It means that it would have meant the government in the Netherlands lost control. And that is the worst thing you can have as a state. You're not a state anymore, basically. Okay. I'll lower the video quality. I'm gonna disappear for a sec so that it will not be buffering as much. I see it's really bothering people. By the way, guys, I'm seeing your super chats. Thank you so much for your support. So I just wanted to emphasize that this Israel sending their forces to do the job that the police is supposed to be doing locally is a humiliating situation for the Netherlands. Right now, I turned off the video at all. And to be honest, if I turned off the video, shouldn't it be better at sending signals? How do I... I'm working on it. 1 second. I apologize. It won't. I don't know if it would let me do it when I'm already live. To be honest, that's the problem. I don't see it. It's like the option to change. Okay. Audio is occasionally a bit laggy, but still intangible. All right. Let me change the scene. I want to go through some comments, some reports, some people that were there who were saying what's going on. I think this is, I didn't see anywhere that this event had ended. Let me check 1 second, because I've been looking for a confirmation to see that this is not happening anymore, and I didn't find it. Okay, you guys are saying the sound started buffering. Oh, okay. So everybody that were unreachable were found. So it's okay. Nobody was taken as hostage. Nobody was successfully taken as hostage. This is good. Okay, otherwise, seriously, why is there no confirmation that the event had ended? This is the only thing. Is it still going on? The interesting thing is, like, there were accounts of people who are like, okay, we have to go to the airport, but people were afraid to call the taxis. Like, you don't know who's going to drive a taxi, right? You don't know if you order an Uber, you don't know who's going to be in the Uber and take you. And so people were feeling like, okay, so how do we get to the airport if we cannot order a taxi? And then on X, there were a lot of like, okay, people who were giving numbers of taxi drivers that they know personally and are safe. To be honest, I didn't even had that in mind, that in a situation like that, and it was because it was pre-coordinated and people are clearly supporting it. Also some Dutch people, but people as well, as we can see. That means that to be completely honest, it's not only that you are gonna get attacked by a mob in the street, it's also that you have no way out unless you have some sort of escort or guarantee that you're not gonna get attacked if you take a taxi, which is insane. There are videos of actually people filming and streaming. By the way, my favorite part is that people are for sure already starting to deny that anything really happened in Amsterdam. They're trying to minimize it. That I'm sure in a week they're gonna deny it ever happened. There's like, okay, but did anyone die? Nobody died. People are just, I don't know if people were injured. Some people got stitches and stabbed and roamed over with a car, but most luckily, it seems like even though some people had to go through several surgeries already, I didn't hear about, let's say, any deaths. So I really hope, but I know like in a little bit it's gonna be, if we're being honest, it's gonna be like, oh, nobody died, the Jews are just exaggerating, okay? It's like whatever. This is my bets. This is gonna be, in the best case scenario, it's gonna get minimized to who cares, nobody died. Mm-hmm. You guys saying audio is okay. I'm just reading. I'm sorry, I froze and I stopped speaking. It's not that the audio was lagging. I was just trying to figure out. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it's gonna be minimized. To be honest, I just think, okay, so those were soccer lovers, football lovers that were targeted. I'm just like, those are mostly men. What if it was some sort of event that was a little bit of mixed crowd, more mixed crowd, where there were a lot more. I don't know if there are any girls there, to be honest. I didn't see even one, but what if it were women? What if it was women? Like, how? After all, there were a lot of people, right? And at some point, Israelis started organizing themselves as well, where they realized what was going on. So they joined in groups and, fought back because they could. But what if it was women? I don't know. I just... Yeah, as of now, everyone is accountable. True. Yes, there are updates. They found everybody. So yeah, Israelis, after all, and it's Israelis, with all due respect, a lot of them had a lot more battle experience than the mob that was attacking them, which is, so this combination of it being Israeli men and opposed to diaspora Jews, no offense, diaspora Jews, it just, self-defense is something that you study. If you don't study it, you don't know how to do it. So it could have been way worse, of course. I want to be, it's not the first time it's happening. Something similar happened also in Greece, where they almost killed an Arab Israeli. I think it was an Arab Christian Israeli. A mob of pro-Palestinians almost killed an Arab Christian Israeli man in Greece. There were other similar events that were smaller in scale, but in every event, in the end of the day, it was like, okay, people were running, and a lot of them were. These are people who are relatively combat ready. Luckily, but because of that, I'm sure it's gonna get minimized at best, and then what I really think is gonna happen is that they're gonna find a reason to blame them. How many Israeli flags these people burnt? How many hostage posters were removed? How many Jews were intimidated? People in the street were intimidated. Of course, and there is one photo I really want to share. People are saying 20 injured. I also saw that later there were 25 people injured. Some were beaten unconscious. Yeah. Somebody is saying that two Israelis are taken hostage in the comments here. I don't see it. Let me check the internet because I want to show you some images and I'm afraid you won't see it if I'm still lagging. And those are important because I wanted to show you, I want to add a photo here and show you why Israelis have such a hard time with the Palestinian flag. What's the history of the Palestinian flag? And obviously with everything that was happening, I'll touch on it a little bit on what the Palestinian flag really is. But I'm thinking what's the best way to show it to you all. But even so, Israelis, we learn to tolerate it at least, even though a lot of Israelis know what was the real origin of this flag. But it became such a popular flag in the West, and people are like, this is the official flag. They don't even know what the Palestinian flag originally stands for and what it really is. And so people are like, okay, whatever. But obviously for Israelis, after a whole year, more than a year now, people burning their flags. And also, can you imagine, I cannot even imagine having suddenly in Israel, in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem, having some random country's flag. Having everywhere the flag of Kosovo. Having everywhere the flag of Abkhazia. The flag of the Houthis. The flag of, what the heck? How can the Netherlands tolerate it? This is also a loss of sovereignty. You're in the Netherlands. Okay, there are some images I want to show you. I'm gonna go down a little bit, just so that you would have a new background. Here, this is people. Yep, nobody sees this. By the way, this video looks dramatic, but this is not. I don't think this is Israelis who are setting things on fire. I think those are like pro-Palestinians, and Israelis are like coming to say "f you," you know, and that is like the justification. You see, this is Israelis saying people who literally have fires in the streets to say "f you" or something. Or I don't know what's happening here, but clearly there is like a mishmash of images that just doesn't make sense in this. Are you saying like there were Israelis were coming and like, oh yeah, I see there is some fire? I mean, I guess, is it normal? I don't know. Is it like something like people do? What is this? No, I think I'm so confused that doesn't make like people. Oh no, those are the Arab. Like this is the pro-Palestinians people. Okay, I get it. Look at them. They're thugs. They're the ones that's having fires. I'm just so confused. Like no one saw this. What's there to see? I don't understand them. Seriously. Like what are you showing? It's so funny. There is a spider that just went down from the ceiling like really, really slowly and landed in the chair next to me. Unrelated. Anyways, I don't understand what's going on. Listen, if there are vandals that are Israeli, arrest them. But that doesn't make sense. Like removing those flags, the terrorist flags. Okay, whatever. Instead. Yeah, Purple Pulp is saying the Maccabi Ultras were fighting them back. For sure, they were fighting them back, and I'm sure even though they were smaller in number, there is a reason that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. These are people that, for many of them, are probably way more experienced with hand-in-hand combat than those mobs. I'm trying to find a certain image to show you, but okay, it's like, are you like, obviously, okay, yeah, this is a good reason to kill Jews in the street. There are also images of, them attacking randomly. If you don't speak or Dutch or Arabic, you'd get attacked. And it's like there are images of, I think even more than one, of Ukrainians. And it's like, we're not Jewish, don't attack us. I was like, can you believe it? People are like, oh no, we're Jewish, we're not Jewish, don't attack us. In a Geert Wilder is saying, a Jew hunt in Amsterdam, it is totally unacceptable that there was insufficient police protection to prevent this violence and protect the people. The mayor of Amsterdam must resign today. Yeah. I guess this kind of rhetoric is the reason Israel chose not to send forces. And I think maybe because the Israelis themselves realized what was going on and started organizing. I don't know, but it would have been a real blow to the, like a nation is supposed to be able to govern itself. That's the minimal requirement indeed. Yeah. Nachman Shai. Okay, so we have a diaspora ministry in Israel, and it talks about the pogrom in Amsterdam. In the past, we have actually, okay, before that, I need to explain something. I had a conversation about it, ironically, a couple of days ago with my friend, when I talked about how, how Mayor Tusi is being threatened and how different YouTubers that go against Islam are being threatened, and then the FBI or the MI6 get in touch with them and tell them, hey, you're being threatened, and then they're being under supervision. And here's what I told my friend. I was like, there is something that I think some Israelis don't know, but for an Israeli person, this is true. Like, you don't have to be a Mayor Tusi or anything like that. Just for being Israeli, you're gonna be, there is an umbrella over you, just like Mayor Tusi has. Like, every Israeli has it automatically, just because for all over, during the 60s and the 70s, there were a lot, and the 90s, there were a lot of attacks on Jews, Jewish communities, Jews, and Israel just decided to be like, you know what, every Israeli is a Mayor Tusi. Every Israeli, which is crazy, but this is the reality of it. So I want to share this. So we have a diaspora minister who talks about saying he is saying here that in the past we have we have like espionage, where we were watching terror against Jews. Usually it was so people, like individuals or gangs that would come and attack and want to attack like a Jewish center. We actually never prepared for the option of having a widespread hunt of Jews in the streets, the way it was happening, like like what was happening in Amsterdam. Jay, get Starlink. Definitely should.
לא, קודם כל, אני לא זוכר, אני מכיר את הסוגיה הזאת של תפוצות הרבה שנים, כולל כמובן בהקשר האנטישמי והאנטי-ישראלי, אני לא זוכר דבר כזה. בעיניי זה סוג של נובה. זה משהו שנופל משום מקום, אבל כמובן יחייב מחשבה גם מה היה, וגם לאן אנחנו הולכים מפה. זה משהו חמור בסדרי גודל שאני לא מכיר.
מה הפתיע אותך בעצם, נחמן?
הפתיע אותי ההיקף. אנחנו עוקבים, זאת הפתעה גדולה. קודם כל, אני לא זוכר, אני מכיר את הסוגיה הזאת של תפוצות הרבה שנים, כולל כמובן בהקשר האנטישמי והאנטי-ישראלי, אני לא זוכר דבר כזה. בעיניי זה סוג של נובה. זה משהו שנופל משום מקום, אבל כמובן יחייב מחשבה גם מה היה, וגם לאן אנחנו הולכים מפה. זה משהו חמור בסדרי גודל שאני לא מכיר.
מה הפתיע אותך בעצם, נחמן?
הפתיע אותי ההיקף. אנחנו עוקבים, שימשתי כשר תפוצות, עקבנו לא רק במשרד שלי, במקומות יותר חשובים, כל הכבוד, אחרי טרור ונגד יהודים ונגד ישראלים. וזה בדרך כלל היה עניין של חוליות בודדים או חוליות שהתארגנו ומתארגנות, גם אולי שאנחנו מדברים עכשיו במדינות שונות, כדי לפגוע בבית כנסת, לפגוע במרכז יהודי כזה או אחר, כמובן שגרירות, או נציג של ישראל, שני הדברים האלה משולבים.
כן.
אבל אף פעם לא נערכנו למצוד אחרי יהודים, ישראלים ברחובות אמסטרדם. לא שמעתי על תסריט כזה.
Yeah, that's insane. It's like the scale of it. And they were planning it, you know? They were planning it like that. Okay, she's just based. Okay, so I want to go through a little bit of your comments. Oh, it looks like the internet stabilized. Thank you so much for your super chats and your support. Here. Gear Johnson, thank you so much for sending. Oh, and here's Dan Bucks, keep being you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your super chat and the sticker. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Suzette Johnson. What is ZAR? Where is it from? I'll check it later. Thank you so much. And just joined. Any updates on how it started online? Online, I saw something about today Israelis took Palestinians' flags or something like that. Okay, there is a suspicion that this was something that was planned ahead of time. So it was something that was organized. The code name that they used is time to globalize the Intifada. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. Okay. I'm just wondering, how do I? Oh, I know. Here is the New York Times buried the Holocaust in the back page. Oh, I guess we have like old habits die hard. Violence tied to soccer game prompts dozens of arrests in Amsterdam. Wow, I can't believe that's the actual title. The police said 57 people were arrested amid violence tied to a game between Dutch and Israeli teams. Israel's government said the attacks were driven by anti-Semitism. Can you believe this is the actual? This is the New York Times. That is the New York Times. I mean, they fixed it, but violence tied to soccer game? It looks like none of the people that were attacking were actually tied to the soccer game, by the way. It's crazy. Crazy. Like, I don't... Yeah. The morning after the pogrom in Holland, the Dutch people are out and about and celebrating just like 80 years ago. Celebrate, you anti-Semite, just remember you are next. And in a little bit of, in not too long, your smiles will switch with cries as you'll turn into the target of the same Middle Eastern terrorists. You stupid terrorist supporters. Is this inside a church?
Hey, can you guys hear me? There are bombings right now, I'm sorry. So I went to the shelter. So I'm in the shelter now. Let's see, where is it coming from? From the quality, I feel like this time it might be actually Iran, because it's been, looks, sounds kind of intense, or we'll see how long we're gonna be here. So that would give us a clue. Sound bad. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, the sound is obviously bad. This is not like proper. I'm just using my earphones. So, which are new. I got it for my birthday yesterday. My brother got it. Like those are the best earphones you can get. And my brother was like, and I was like, dude, you got me the best ones. He's amazing. Best brother ever. Oh, is it everywhere? Let's hear. Okay, let me check what's going on first. יש עדיין? Okay, it seems like it stopped, so it might be just Lebanon or something. Yeah, it might be Lebanon. Let's see. לבנון, נכון? כן, לבנון. Yeah, it just happens to be close. All right, I'm gonna go back up. Mhm. There is no sound. Can you not hear me? No, this is Lebanon, by the way. Oh, the wrong order. Hi, Rebecca. Have you heard of Gayat Gayatri Devi, ma'am, of the alternate media YouTube here on YouTube? Both your content is almost identical to each other. Collab? Oh, I actually never heard of them. I'll check it. Thank you so much for your support. Eleanor, I almost never get to see you live. Thank you for all you do. באמת תודה. Really, thank you. Keep safe. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so it's not a big deal. All right, I'm gonna go back up and continue. Anyway, here's what I wanted to show you. You are seeing something. If this flag looks familiar, it should look familiar. Mhm. And I'm gonna turn off the video as I go up. Um, okay, gonna go up. All right, sorry, that was a bit. So I wanted to show you what the Palestinian flag was used for. So this is the Ba'ath. The basically there was, the National Socialist Party. They're famous for the abbreviation. By saying the video is better now. Anyway. Anyway, just like there is a National Socialist Party that is German, there was and still is technically, because they still exist in an enclave in the middle of the Middle East, basically where the stick is coming out of from. That is the National Socialist Arab Party. Their stated mission is to have a united Arab front, and anyone who didn't fit that Arabization goal was treated accordingly. The Kurds, the Christians in Lebanon, and obviously the goal was to do the same with the Jews of Israel and the whoever was left in Arab states. And there were several versions of the same kind of idea. So you have the Ba'ath, and you have Nazism, for example. Nasser expelled the Jews out of Egypt. You know, this is the flag people are flying. This is the National Socialist flag, just with a different pyramid of genetical superiority. Just it's not the Aryans, it's the Arabs. Guys, yeah, somebody's complained that I should be reading the chat, so maybe I missed something that I need to react to. Anyway, in a corrected world, in a world where people, the New York Times, like this tweet said, obviously they supported the Nazis at the time as well. They probably had a similar kind of title when Jews were attacked by the National Socialist of the Aryan kind. um, in a corrected world, in a world where people would have spoken the truth, and then the New York Times and the BBC and the Red Cross also cooperated with the National Socialist, the Aryan version. Why wouldn't they cooperate with the National Socialist Party of the Arabs? They really like pyramids. That's their thing. They really like it. They just obsessed with race, obsessed with skin color, obsessed with genetics, obsessed with whatever your DNA is composed of. It's more important what DNA is of than, there is a chosen family. What if I adopt somebody who is Taiwanese? Are they not allowed to identify as Jewish? And as Israelis, and adopt the identity of a Jewish person, like they have zero Middle Eastern, let's say, DNA. Who effing cares? I'll tell you who care. People who believe that genetics is above all. That's it. There is nothing that matters more than genetics. Peter Henderson towards better internet plan. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Investory, thank you for your reminder to smash the like, everyone. It is free. It is free. All right. I'm gonna go back up. By the way, there are plenty of versions of this flag combined with the crooked swastika that the Aryan National Socialist was using. All right, I'm gonna turn off the video. Just leave you with this beautiful photo. One day, this event of Israeli soccer team fans taking down this flag would be written down the same way that it would have, if you would have written now about Jews taking down some a certain version of a German flag that had a red background, white circle, and a tilted swastika. One day, this is how it will be looked at and written about us as people who were taking flags down flags of something that, and they were heroes. They were heroes for doing that. They were heroes for doing it. All right. Yeah, you guys are helping close. Oh, sorry. I just pressed something randomly. Yeah. Oh, come on, stop it. Yeah. Okay. You have to resettle. Yeah. And people know it. People know it
because we clearly can see what comes together with this kind of behavior. You know? Okay. Let's see what the media that is cooperating is saying now. Hey, okay. Sorry if you heard me twice. Yeah, I turned off the video for a little bit. Sorry, because I was readjusting. Okay. No, sorry. Okay. I'm a little bit off center, but here I am. Okay. All right, I can do it. Come on, I can do it. Okay. Ay. Okay, let's see who is this. What is this person writing? Is how much are how do they compare to the New York Times? All right. I've spoken to a fan who went to the match last night who reports saying Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters. Right. So, okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So I started saying that, when I see it's bullshit. Come on. Looking like they look a fight. Let me guess. They looked like they are gonna go and see a match where people fight. There is a battle, but the battle is like literally putting a ball to, like, like kicking a ball. That's the fight. I think it makes sense that people who are going to watch a fight are gonna look like they're looking for a fight, because this is the mood you get into before you go to a sport event. Like, this is why sports people do haka. Haka is something you do before battle. So you say, okay, they did a haka, does it mean they're gonna go? Does it mean you have to attack them now because they did a haka? So clearly they're going into the battlefield to kill. No, like they do it to prop themselves up before an event that is a fake battle, mock battle, whatever. Connor Dalton tells me, I don't know who that is. I felt worried. Everyone was going into the city, so everyone knew what was going to happen. Oh, duh, everybody knew because it was planned in a way that everybody knew, right? So it was like there were posters saying, hey, there is an event that would allow us to globalize the Intifada in a very, very fun, massive way. Let's do it. And because people are normalized saying globalize the Intifada, and there are actual hearings in the Congress with people putting a photo like that in front of Arabs, and it's like, what does this mean? It doesn't mean, it means peace and love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what happens in normalizing shit. By the way, isn't the Sabbath entering soon? So, okay. But, okay, there's some timing. Shame on mainstream media. Shame. All right, let's continue reading this. He adds that he is shocked by the portrayal of of the incident. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read it from the screen so that I wouldn't look that way. But if I look this way, it's too small, so it's hard. Okay. I'm not gonna pretend I can read small letters, and I'm gonna go back here. Sorry. He adds that he is shocked by the portrayal of the incident in the media, adding that the attacks were completely provoked. And Palestinian flags were turned down the night before. Right. I'm kind of speechless. Sophia, they didn't lose control, they conceded to it. The government? Yeah, from what I'm understanding, who's in control right now? I know Geert Wilders got the most votes, but he didn't get the prime ministry. Is he not the prime minister? Anyway, I trust Geert Wilders to want to protect the Jews. If it's somebody else and I'm mistaken, because I also saw somebody saying that he's not the prime minister, so I'm sorry, I have to admit, like, I didn't register that much into my heart the governmental situation of the Netherlands. To be honest, I never thought it would be one day such an important piece of information I would have to show any proficiency in. But I believe that the police cooperated. Yes. Okay, he's not the prime minister. So I guess if he's not the prime minister, then the government is cooperative 100%. Yeah. Uriel Polak, my city, I am not surprised the mayor thinks Islam has nothing to do with this. Pro-Palestine demonstration still a legit things in our Amsterdam mayor. I don't, when is it gonna be that, you know what, like, who cares that, I mean, can you imagine attacking like Afghan men in the street and saying like, this is for women in Afghanistan? That they literally genocide women in Afghanistan. And by the way, I loved something that Majid something said, that gender-based genocide should also be recognized in the United Nations, because it's a real thing. You know, there is a reason that they come and look for other sources, other nationalities to rape other than themselves. They just kill their girls, they kill their women. Geert Wilders' party is part of the cabinet. They got another prime minister. Yeah, that's what I thought. But here's the thing, like, I cannot, that's what I thought. I know, I kind of knew that, but I don't know who's the prime minister, so I don't know what party it represents. I don't know how they personally believe. I don't know who is the Ministry of Interior or in Ministry of Interior Security, and say what their position is. So I don't know if it's the government cooperating or lack of governance, to be exact. But the thing is, it is more likely than not lack of governance, because to be in a situation where a foreign country feels like they have to have a rescue mission, not to a third country, and not in a huge catastrophical event like, I don't know, a tsunami or earthquake, but because the police is not functioning there, that's I don't think anyone in a government, unless of course it's their official stance is to make sure that there are no Israelis or Jews alive. And then, you know, in that case, like, you don't need a mob to do that. This is why you have a police force, right? The police force is supposed to be doing the violence. In a proper governance, governance would have been, okay, the government doesn't like Israelis, so they tell the police to take care of Israelis, whatever way. So this indicates a clear lack of governance. You know, when the National Socialists were controlling Germany and things like that were happening, nobody was like, okay, it's a lack of governance. It was a lack of governance if the police didn't deliver enough bodies of the Jewish kind. Then it was a lack of governance. And here, this is a lack of governance because, you know, there is a face. It doesn't matter what your personal feelings are. You have to have a policy, and as a governor, this policy has to be followed, you know? So this is a lack of governance, whether or not they believe that Israel should be attacked. Uriel Pollack, the Dutch police has a history in World War II. They did the roundup. Exactly, this is governance. Their policy was annihilate the Jews. So the police did the roundup. You cannot have the mobs doing the roundup. That is only done when you have a lack of governance. Like in the beginning, the National Socialist Party did have a certain lack of governance because the police didn't bring enough results with the amount of bodies that they wanted of Jews. So they had to incite the public to do it. And when the public does it, it's risky because like they attack Ukrainians, for example, and you don't want to attack Ukrainians. You want it to be orderly. You want it to be only against Israelis. So this is why I'm saying, like, regardless, this is a lack of governance when the police is not doing what the government is. They're not taking orders from the government in their actions. Yeah, so the National Security Institution in Israel had said that the pogrom in Holland would be recognized as a wave. How do I? It's like a sort of terrorist attack, but like a hate. Maybe somebody can help me, tell me fast, like what's the right way to translate it here in the comments. But yeah. Jeremy is saying, I guarantee that when the IDF woke up the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, he felt humiliated and took action. Yes, this is a lack of governance. When a mustache Hitler guy was in the government, he was the Prime Minister, when the police did not agree to round up Jews, that was a lack of governance. Now, this is not their official stance. So the fact that the police is not protecting tourists or citizens, or, you know, this is lack of governance. The mobs are not supposed to be doing the violent things. It's the government that is supposed to do violence, good or bad. Like, they attacked people who weren't necessarily Israeli, you know, or not Jews. Why? Because they're not professional. The police is more professional, you know, most of the time, or at least they can be held accountable for not doing their job properly. Iranian accounts are publishing videos from Amsterdam with the caption, hunting Zionist pigs. I mean, pigs and monkeys. That's the more better quote. If you read the Quran, then it's not just pigs, it's also monkeys and stuff. But whatever. Yeah. Hunting Zionist pigs in the capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam. In the clip, a few Arabs wearing the Palestinian flag are surrounding, chasing, and hitting Israeli while screaming, "Fuck Israel." Is this Are they attacking this man? He's old. Come on. Let's see what Marine Le Pen is saying. Why did it do that? Why did it jump? Yeah. Translate. I know speak French. Why is it stuck? Tens of Israelis went through a lynch in Amsterdam after a football game in the European League. Hating Jews, Jew hate is spreading like fire in a number of countries in Europe, and it is brought up with a hard, like far left rhetoric that is being, I mean, I don't know, the far left were crazy like on their own right. She's bringing up that they are getting corrupted by the Muslims, but to be honest, the far left were, I mean, they were always like that. I don't, why are you blaming the Muslims? Like, this is who they are, regardless of Muslims. It's must be very comfortable to blame the Muslims for the far left. Sweetheart, it has nothing to do with the Muslims. They historically, they have reached out themselves to the Muslims saying, hey, we're awful, you're awful. I think we can be awful together because we believe in being awful to be, yeah. Anyway. The Islamic ideology, okay, and stupid, oh yeah, she is also giving the, she's smart woman. Yeah. They're saying there is a problem. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do to make it bearable? I'll just switch the camera so that it would be easier to watch, I think. Sorry. Random. Because I think this one requires less pixels. Anyway, to be honest, it's the media is cooperating with it. The BBC, the New York Times, the governments, they're all preaching Jew hate and justifying attacks on Jews and saying that removing the Arab Nazi flag is a crime, you know, crap like that. Just saying it's baffling. So I'm seeing, okay. All right. Let me wait a second. You know, I only saved it, but this comment, because uh, Rudy Rochman, like, he actually starts to annoy, really, because it was like going to talking to Arabs, and like he himself is like a really tall, big guy, okay? And it's like Muhammad Hijab, right? So he goes to Arabs and talks to them, and is like, and also is a combat soldier, is a sniper. So he can go, he talks to Muslims and they tell him to the face, like, blah, 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 or genocide the Jews. And then he talks to them and he's like, and it's like, it's brave, but I don't think it's that brave because it's just really big. So people just wouldn't start a fight with him anyway, just looking at him. And I'm pretty sure that unlike a certain Muhammad Hijab guy, he can actually fight. So he goes around and hugs Muslims and like, oh, see, we can, after talking to them, I was like, and the first comment was like, stop with the bullshit. Stop pretending, okay? Let's stop pretending. They're gonna hug you and kill you the next day. You're just, and he's just, it looks intimidating. It doesn't look like it's gonna easy to take care of him in the spot. So, you know, they're gonna hug him, and when they're gonna come back, just equipped better to deal with a person like that. Let's be real. Come on. I just love this. The first comment he got is like, stop effing around. Like, there is no peace with them. We're not all just love and cookies. And buffering. Just be ready. I'm thinking maybe I need to see if there's some problems with the amplifiers, you know. Maybe this, because I'm in the corner, and it might be that the internet is not reaching this corner like as nicely as it used to. I'll have to see how to fix it. Let's see if there's still a problem. One of the main organizers of protests against the match against Maccabi Tel Aviv in Amsterdam is the Instagram page blah 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 Week for Palestine. 60 people were arrested for attacking Jews last night. The Instagram page is now organizing protests in front of the jails where they are held. This is the people who are your people are marching free Palestine. Those are people who believe that you should be able to attack Jews freely. And if you get arrested for killing a Jew, because listen, it is legal in Islamic countries, it's okay. You can kill minorities. They don't, the worst punishment you'll get is just paying some money as compensation. You don't. This is what it means to have a society where there is inherent inequality between people. If you kill a Jew, if it's really is unjustified and it's been done in a way that embarrasses the local authorities, you'll pay a fine. If you were alone with them and you can claim that they said Allah is stupid, then go ahead. Just, and because they come from a culture like that, same with rape, by the way, the same thing. To them, just because some Israelis were beaten to unconsciousness, and just because people feel themselves roaming them with cars, And just because people were feeling themselves beating up people in the street, those were Jews that were attacked. It's fair game. It is fair game. So it doesn't make sense in their worldview. It doesn't make sense for those who did that to even be arrested at all. And somebody's saying discuss active measure, please. I think I saw this comment several times. What is active measure? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why I need to talk about it. I feel like it's too basic to talk about. It's like, obviously, there are a lot of foreign powers who are working hard to make sure that their political agenda will be implied everywhere in the world. But to be honest, it's not only foreign powers. Like, the Europeans are talented enough themselves. They don't need Arabs. They don't need the Muslims to tell them to kill all the Jews. They are absolutely capable doing that on their own accord. Like, they just didn't feel good with themselves for, especially because, listen, a huge reason for why the Europe had to take responsibility for genociding the Jews of Europe was because Israel was established. Until the 6-Day War, until the 60s, until also the Suez Canal crisis, it's not that the Holocaust stopped. It's just that it wasn't organized properly anymore. So when Jews were trying to return home in Europe, they couldn't. The Americans, Truman sent people to watch what's happening with the camps that Americans were handling. And he said, hey, listen, we're treating the Jews the same way that the Nazis did. We're not actively killing them, but a lot of the other refugees do. Jews tried to go back home in Europe. They couldn't. They got killed by locals. So when you have a government falling like Germany did, the policing was not. There was no governance, so it was mob rule, and people were continuing the job on their own accord. The basic understanding of the West was that once, like with the Jews gone from Muslim countries, because it was only in the 50s were the Arab countries organized enough and had enough of a governance to do, proper evacuation of Jews from Earth like Germany did, until they had that government established. It was mob rule, so Jews were just randomly, sporadically attacked the way they are now in the way they were now in Amsterdam. So what happened is that, first of all, Israel was established, and they had to airlift all those Jews from those countries to save them. They had to smuggle them, hundreds and thousands of Jews, they smuggled them. So they never got to a point where they had the ability to do it with proper policing. Okay? So they never got to the point where the governments of the Arab and Muslim countries could have finish the job. But that was the plan. And also, you know, at some point, Stalin wanted to finish the job, but then he got a stroke at Purim of the year 1953, so he also couldn't finish it. But here's the thing: unlike the intelligence assessment of the United States, of the State Department, was okay. So the million Jews in Muslim lands are in grave danger, and the assumption was that it's gonna be a complete. There are not gonna be any more Jews, and any person that look at the numbers and the fact that there was an arms embargo on the Jews, and they had the 10th of the weapons maybe that the Arabs had, and it was a tiny minority that was escaping concentration camps to get to Israel and fight. So they assumed, okay, so those Israelis, the Jews in Israel, after inhabiting the land for 3,000 years continuously, consequently, because Jews never left, right? They just became a minority. There was no real governance or real kind of entity in the area that used to be Israel. It never recovered since the dispersal of the Jews, but most Jews still stayed in this area, and they were, you know, they came, the Byzantines came, then like mowed the lawn, the Muslims came and mowed the lawn, the Ottomans mowed the lawn. The Ottomans too, by the way, the Ottomans, after the Armenians, they wanted to kill the Jews in Palestine as well. And like that, it was in their, it was in to-do list, but they fell. They ended up collapsing before they reached the Jews. So it was, you know, like a different, with Islam, the thing is like, they have different empires, Islamic empires had a different execution list. So some were like, okay, first the Christians, then the Samaritans, then the Jews. Some were like, first the Jews, then the Christians, you know, they all had a different list. And because of that, sometimes Jews weren't first, but they only finished up with the first group and never got to the Jews. So, you know, but it's like mowing the lawn, and so there was always a continuous population of Jewish people living in Israel, right? And it never, ever, until the reestablishment of the State of Israel, had a situation that was less than horrific, to be completely honest. This country, the land, didn't manage to rebuild itself, didn't manage to the devastation after the devastation of the Romans, until Israel was established. And now we know what Israel is. And the Western world preferred to work with the Arabs because they had oil. But there were enclaves, right? So in the beginning, what happened was that Russia, for some crazy, like God-driven reason, decided to support the establishment of Israel. That lasted about 2 years. But without the USSR, none of the resolutions that were like the resolutions, the Americans didn't want to pass them. They went against it. They went against the partition plan, and then they went against recognizing Israel. But the USSR was really like pushing on the morality button really hard. The USSR was like, these people lived there continuously for millennia. They are praying every year to go back to Jerusalem. Have you guys lost your minds? And now listen, if the USSR is giving you a morality lesson, that means that you got yourself to be so morally corrupt that even the most cynical people, there was leakage, right? So there were people in key areas, key points, for example, Truman himself. That was like, you know what, this is beyond my capabilities. And it's like, he didn't want to recognize Israel, but that was so, and the situation was that the Jews were, after the Holocaust, they were still in concentration camps, and only after Israel was established were they allowed to leave the concentration camps, about 6 months later. So they were captive concentration camp with nowhere to go. And part of it was with them being released from there and being allowed is also so, you know what, okay, Israel is now established, they can go there. But some countries were like, okay, but if all the Jews would go there, then we would never be able to get rid of Israel. So like, okay, you know what, we'll compromise, we'll let the Jews in, so that Israel would not be the only country that accepts them, and that would make them Israel weaker. But with time, with the Suez Canal crisis, and by the way, so after the Russians, it was the French. The French really had realized that they are completely energetically independent. So yeah, so they were like, they really wanted to have nuclear power and things like that. So they had made like they did 1+1. They were like, okay, Israel is the country of the Jews. The Jews contributed vastly to the development of nukes. So if France and Israel would cooperate, then France can get nukes. And that's what happened. The nuclear program of France and Israel were they were basically the same. It was such an intertwined development. Like they were like Jews, Israelis, and French had brought like the same amount of contribution to the table when it comes to developing nukes. So I also saw like the Americans said, like when the French were testing their nuclear capabilities, you can, like I said, somebody quoted, it was the same thing as Israel testing their nuclear capabilities, because you know it was the French had assessed that with the Jews they could actually achieve it. Once they achieved it, they threw the Jews away. But at this point, Israel was a force that even the Americans and Europeans were like, okay, when you have a nation that like was very suspected in the early 60s to already have nukes, suddenly the game is like, if they're gonna get a real genocide threat again, the consequences would be too much. And this is when we see the shift, the 60s. Suddenly in the 60s, the Roman Catholic Church was like, recognized their contribution to anti-Semitism. Suddenly you have this whole shift, and Jews were there. You have the civil rights movement in the United States, where Jews and Black people marched together for human rights, for Jews and Black people treated like the others, to be honest, like allowed into universities and stuff like that. There's the Jews and were treated awfully, and a lot of American Jews who became Zionist because they had figured out that without the state of Israel, the anti-Semitism in the United States was so severe that they a lot really believed that only with if Israel had if we have Israel, if the Jews have Israel, then they would not be, it wouldn't be as easy to humiliate Jews. So the anti-Semitic situation in the United States was so dire that American Jews who, didn't personally necessarily believe in wanting to live in Israel, and a lot of them were like very skeptical originally, were like, okay, if Israel is not established, then we're doomed. Like, we're doomed.